There's this great quote from the movie Mank, where a studio producer talks about the power of the movies and that it's in emotion. And where do we feel emotion? We feel it here, here, and here. This is my basic approach to coming up with ideas that work. These are usually short sketches or ads, but the same principle applies to movies and most forms of media or art. A good idea needs to stimulate the mind. It should be something you can churn over in your brain, talk with your friends about, get you thinking, get you analyzing. It should be analytical, but also not cold. The best movies usually don't dumb themselves down in order to appease. And it's our job as creators and filmmakers and artists to be able to deliver that to an audience as well. A few ways that I found that are useful for coming up with ideas in stimulating the mind are cleverness, mystery, curiosity. What are the things that make you ask questions? Puzzles and mind games. Think about something like Inception. I feel like that's a perfect example of something that really spins your mind while also moves your heart and also is kind of sexy as hell. It needs to move you. It needs to connect to your spirit, to your soul, and speaks to you in a way that moves your physiology. The easiest way I found to do this is through music. Music is the language of the heart, and if you watch anything that you particularly love, usually you'll notice that the score was particularly strong, and that's usually where you feel most of your emotion center. Emotion is what gives our lives meaning and purpose and kind of amplifies experience. This is the most common thing that people express in their art, is usually it comes from a place of emotion, and in order to convey an emotion to an audience member, generally it has to be felt within yourself. A few places that I start when wanting to convey an emotion to an audience is courage and fear, and how those interplay between each other. Redemption and catharsis are really good ways of capturing that. Suspense and anticipation, what's going to happen and how will it play out. Grandeur and inspiration are some of the most impactful emotions that I like to capture. And then also humor. I like to make people laugh, and I like to make something that physiologically moves your body in a way that you were not planning on. Not necessarily literally, but we're primal animals. What are the things that we've evolved for evolutionarily that move us in a way that motivate our instinctual presence and our senses? These can be anything from perfect symmetry to contrast to color to the obvious just hot body. There are millions of ways of accessing our survival instincts in a way that build us up, build our confidence, and grab our attention. To me, it's one of the most wonderful gifts of humanity, something that we're all a victim to and all have to play within the bounds of, and yet at the same time is what makes life kind of juicy and exciting in so many ways. I feel like, especially in the US, the puritanical stigma around sex and taboo has been something that's created energy around this that gives an opportunity to be able to explore it in ways that create impact in ways that people could never imagine. What motivates us to reproduce, to survive, to thrive, to build something for the future, to be able to tap into these and create media built around them is a really effective way of drawing people's attention and keeping them wanting more. Also, it's really important to know your audience and use tasteful tact. Not everyone is drawn by the same instinctual desires, so being aware of who your audience is and what you want to convey to them. We don't want to make sex for the sake of itself. I'm not really interested in gratuitous, but also being able to use those tools to be able to express something that is really important to you. I feel like it would be foolish not to use the tools at hand. A few of the different ways that I access the groin are beauty, symmetry, color, food, symbol, allusion, like alluding to different ideas, subtext, status and clout, what great achievements can be done. A lot of these different elements of these three different things that I've talked about overlap in so many different ways. In the movies and content that you watch, keep an eye out for how they're using these three different elements, whether it's from the concept down to the scenes themselves to the imagery. Most of them are integrated in one way or another, and all of them inform each other in various different respects. If you find that there are movies or media that don't fully work, or you have friends that don't love it as much as you do, generally it's because it's not hitting on those 3 elements for them. So it's interesting to kind of contrast and compare. Talk to your friends, see kind of what they see about this. I would love some feedback on if this is something that actually works, if it's useful. It's something that I've been using for some of the ads and kind of short films that I've been making. I think it's a really good kind of baseline for coming up with ideas, but if you have better ideas or you think I'm totally full of shit, I would love to hear about it. In the end, if you're making what you want to make and you're coming up with ideas and you're inspiring others, then I think you've won.